Morning, Fabio, Abdullah. Good morning. Oh, things keep jumping in. Alec, I think it is. Mehran. Good morning. Thank you very much for waiting with us whilst we set the meeting up and got it started. I am hoping you will be able to see our leadership team, and I'm hoping you'll be able to see some slides. Tom, Amna, Mahbooba, could you just give me a thumbs up that you can see us all and the slides? Amazing. Thank you, guys. Okay. We will give everyone a chance to join us. So we'll start talking probably in about 7 minutes. It will be a presentation where we're going to ask you to join in with the chat. So if you're not used to using Teams, you're more of a Zoom or a Google Meet person, there is a chat button, which for me is in the top right-hand side of my monitor. And we will keep an eye on what's coming up on the chat, but there are going to be lots of opportunities for families to contribute. We see this as a meeting and a presentation rather, and a consultation. Right, I'm just going to mute myself. Sorry, my monitor, I've got one big one, one small one. There's very small. Fabio, Abdullah, Alec, and I think Mehrad, if you've got any questions to ask just as we're starting, as it's just you guys before our presentation starts, you're welcome to unmute and ask us any questions now if there are things that are burning to ask.
Can you please walk us through the IB accreditation? And the other question that I had was regarding Arabic and Islamics.
Right.
As you might be aware, there are issues and challenges with a lot of schools in this part of the world where Arabic is not as strong as it should be, especially for kids where Arabic is or should be their first language. So I'm just keen to understand what is Ashmont planning to do with regards to Arabic and Islamics in particular.
Okay, well, that's really good. Both really good questions. The IB accreditation, I will talk you through. And if by the end of the meeting you don't feel secure, just remember to say that and I will go through it a second time if I haven't given enough detail. And then for Arabic and Islamic, you will have seen my face and Mahbooba's face and our little hearts full when you said that. Yes, we will talk a lot about Arabic and Islamic. We are desperate to both of us get Arabic right. We've both taken Arabic in our respective schools to very good and outstanding. So we feel deeply passionate, both of us, me as what would be an Arabic B student, Mahbooba as what would be an Arabic A student. So we are going to talk to you about that as a slide, but we do believe that Arabic is going to be an absolute strength in our school because we both feel so passionately that Arabic should be a must-have. It should be what children want to do, what children leave as a real bonus in their suite of achievements. But we will talk to you. We've got a slide about Arabic and Islamic. But yes, I hope what you will see at Ashmount will be a very different approach to Arabic, where it is a real living, breathing, and enjoyed subject. We want to be very different from other schools. So you're going to hear a lot about that when we get to our Arabic slide about halfway through the presentation. But yes, both of those. As families are coming on, I can see Leah joining us, Karen joining us, and Ozcan, I think I've met you before, which is lovely to see a friendly name coming up. As we let everybody in, we will start 12 on the dot. Mariam, welcome.
Hi.
Hi. I'm
Hi,
pleased.
how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Hi,
How are you
everyone.
doing?
Fine, thank you.
And can I also say, as families who have all, myself, Amna and Mahbooba, we've all battled the whole digital family thing going on at the same time. If your children get noisy, do not worry. We are school teachers. We are used to noisy children, demanding children, and we're also used to being pulled away by our children and then coming back to rejoin meetings. So if that happens, please don't worry. We are with you. We fully understand what this is like. So welcome.
Hi, Mrs. Abigail. Yes, obviously we met at the physical open day last time.
Amazing. I knew there was a friendly name there that I could see pop up. Thank you.
Yeah,
Lovely.
thank you.
Well, I hope it's not going to be too much of a repeat. We've done a new set of slides. We want these open days to, there's a little bit of repeating, bringing everyone up to speed with Ashmount and our project. But there's also going to be new information each time we meet as well. So lovely to see you. If there are specific things, I'm just writing them down as people are mentioning any specific things they want us to make sure we cover, as well as our slides. So I've got IB accreditation, our approach to Arabic and Islamic. If there are other things that you want to, you can either pop it in the chat. If you're not used to Teams, top right-hand side, there's a little speech bubble with 2 lines. Alternatively, you could just, in this part of the meeting, just unmute and shout out, whilst there's just a few of us. Okay. One more minute, we'll give everyone a chance. Morning, Norbert.
Morning. Sorry, I'm not able to switch on the camera at the moment because I'm
worry.
ill, but I'm
Oh.
here and listening carefully. Thank you very much.
Oh, morning. Well, I hope you feel better. Yeah, please don't worry. I've got a little bit of a sore throat, so I'm going to drink my coffee a little bit whilst I talk. So, yeah, it's the March, April bugs that come back into us all. So I hope you feel better soon, Norbert.
Thank you.
Now, Julie's is just stretching my understanding of pronunciation with various punctuation marks on the name.
Turkish verse.
God,
it's
tell me
Güliz.
how I say it.
Güliz.
Julie's. Oh, okay, that wasn't too bad. Okay. Morning, Julie's. Good morning, Ahmed.
Yeah, very close.
Morning, Laura. Good morning, Mark, Laura's husband. Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Now, we will make a little start. I've got my chat open. I've got the slides that I'm hoping I'm sharing. We've got our full SLT team who are already on site and working at Ashmount. And we've got Laura and Mark joining us from Lumi, because we're going to talk to you about Lumi, which is part of our wellbeing pathway. Lots of people are now joining. I'm going to try not to be distracted by them picking up. If you've got anything you want to put into the meeting chat, please do so, and we will try and get back to any questions. During the meeting, we have got quite a few consultation points where we're going to ask you to put things in the chat and comments in the chat, and these become part of our consultation work as we open Ashmount, because we really want Ashmount to be a community school. So let's get started. Ashmount is, now I can't go through my slides. There we are. Ashmount is, and I hope this is, you've all joined us, a new school opening in August 26 in Moudon. We are what is called in the interested phase of becoming an IB school. And we will talk through the IB accreditation, because that's been a question that we've been asked by you. So as we go through, we'll add that in as one of our slides. Could I introduce to you our SLT team minus Selena, who is our head of inclusion. But my name is Abby Fishbourne. I am the school principal. I've been in the Gulf for 12 years. This is my 12th year now, leading different schools, both IB schools, UK schools and US schools. And I've led schools in the UAE and in Qatar. I'd like to introduce Amna Thomas, who is, she's mentioned as primary head on her name on this meeting. Amna is head of our primary school, so that's students in grade pre-KG up to grade 5. If you are used to UK grading years, that is to year 6. We've got Tom Nelson, who's head of our secondary school. So that is grades 6 and above. So we will go to grade 12 when we're full For the time being, we will go up to grade 8, and then each year we will add on an additional grade until we get to grade 12. Those of you who are coming from UK systems, that is year 7 and above to year 13. And Mabuba, who is there on my screen next to Amna, who is our head of our MOE subjects. So she is head of Arabic for both native and non-native speakers, head of social studies, and head of Islamic education. We also have, as part of our executive leadership team, a lovely lady called Selina. Selina is our head of inclusion, and she's coming over from the UK at the end of this academic year, and she will be with us sometime around the 4th of August. So we're very excited. That will be our full senior leadership team. Lovely. Oh, didn't realise there were animations. I've looked at the static slides. So, as I said, we are in the interested phase of becoming an IB school, and we were asked, what does that mean? To become an IB school, there are various stages that schools must go through, and you cannot call yourself an IB school until you have been accredited. It's really important. It's for copyright and full of lots of rules about what you can and cannot say. So you will see people, we've said things like we are IB aligned, which means everything we design, everything we create, everything we make is fully aligned to IB. We will go through the accreditation phase starting now to become a candidacy school, and we hope very quickly we will get that candidacy, and then we will, at the moment we've got that, start on our DPCP route to become accredited for offering those in our senior years. So it's a long process, lots of steps to it, and it's a process that assures you a quality school that meets all of the requirements of IB. So you might find us using the words in an IB school and at Ashmount. We're being very careful about that, because obviously we don't want to jeopardise our accreditation in any way. So we would love to know, as part of this meeting and as a consultation with you as part of our accreditation, what do you want most for your child's future? And if you can just pop that in the chat, like I said, the chat button, for those of you not used to Teams, top right-hand side of your monitor, or at least it is for me. So what do you want for your child's future? And whilst you do that, I'm just going to write down, Abdullah would like us to mention sports. Oh, okay. You want to know about sports, and I'll put in development and competition squads. And universities. Okay. Lovely. Thank you, Laura. A community where a child feels safe and able to learn, and a school where everyone is valued and supported. Yeah, exactly what we're trying to build at Ashmount. That community, that school where children are really celebrated for the individuality that they bring, where children are valued, spoken to, listened to, where they are part of the school and they are part of creating the school. And I hope that you will feel all of that as we talk through our slides, but I hope that you'll also feel the value that we put on children feeling safe and valued through the events that we've been running from back last term, actually, as we build our school. So what we've done is we've built together the pathways. All children do all pathways. Okay, these are things that we hold dear. As many people would say, we're keeping the main thing the main thing. And so we're trying to put together all of our ideas under these 5 pathways. The academic pathway, that is the pathway of academic achievement and children being the best version of themselves that they can be. The well-being pathway, the pathway that we know actually sits above all pathways, because if we feel safe, valued, secure, happy, then we will be learners. We will learn and we will make the right achievements on our academic pathway. A global pathway where we look out, starting from the UK, we look outside, we say local heart, global mind. An enterprise pathway where we prepare children for the world and the exciting things in the world that go on that they can take part in, where we look at our sciences, etc. And then, of course, futures. And somebody wrote here, what universities accept the IB curriculum? And we'll talk about that with our futures pathways. So, like I said, lots of questions coming up. I'm going to try and write some of these down. But Mabuba, Tom, and Mabuba, Tom, and Amna, if you could also write these down as well, just to make sure we've covered them by the end of today's talk or meeting. Right. Okay, so we want them to feel safe, we want them to feel school, we want them to feel ready to enter society and manage all of the pressures that are come their way. They are totally adaptable. Okay. Ashmount is the 8th school in the Interstar group of school. If you include the IB school that they sit on the governing body for in India, it's actually the 9th school, which is really exciting. But it's the 8th one that they have built in the UAE from the ground up. So Ashmount has come around with Interstar have British curriculum schools, English national curriculum schools, and we will be we are hoping to be their first IB school. Like I said, I have to be quite careful with the terminology I use around IB, but the IB school in the UAE. We are focusing on learning, experiences, community, and gathering your voice today and explaining what that will look like. Mabuba, Tom, and Amna, if there are questions that pop up that align to a slide, please just unmute and just join in as well, please. If there are questions that come up that fit with something we're talking about. Okay, so we want, as I said, Ashmount to be not just a school. We say not just a school, but a place to grow as a student, as an individual, as a child, but actually to grow as a community. And when I talk about a community school, I'm talking about co-creating, listening to you guys, hearing what you need, hearing what's important. I'm not talking about flipping and flopping one direction to another, relentless in our direction to meet our vision and our mission, but creating it with you purposefully around the children, their students, being centered to everything we do, they're centered to their futures and centered to all decision making. And like I said, also focusing on being a community, being part of the Mood On community and part of the Dubai community, part of the UAE community, and being global citizens. So we talk about our vision, and our vision is nice and simple. We want to learn with purpose, we want to live with compassion, and we want to lead with courage. And that's what we want for us as students, you as families, and us as students, us as staff, you as a community, and our students. And these 3 short statements guide everything that we do. That's not a mission that sits on the wall. It's not a mission that sits in a folder. It's not a mission that sits in a document. It's everything we do. And I always say, it guides every decision we make. And over the last year, as I've joined the Ashmount team, every time we come to a decision that is difficult to make or a question, we're thinking about something, we go back to these short 3 statements. And we really mean, and somebody wrote they wanted lessons where they were exciting and creative. Exciting, creative, where learning is purposeful, where children know what they're learning, why they're learning, how they're going to use it, where they live with not just kindness, but compassion for themselves and compassion for other people, where they lead with courage and they're brave. And I think somebody wrote in the questions in the chat about them actually moving into this world. They were going prepared and brave for the world. I wonder if you could just pop in now what these mean to you, because we will use your comments as part of our consultation as we build our community on what these 3 statements mean to our community and how we see these statements coming to life. So if you could just pop in the meeting chat, and whilst you do that, I will also write down any questions that you've got. Right, I've written down about not opening. Oh, the question is, what would our vision mean to you? What would it mean to you if we saw these 3 sentences, learning with purpose, living with compassion and leading with courage? What would that mean to you? Because we want to make sure that everyone is aligned in what these sentences mean. Thank you. Sorry, Asma. Thanks, Tom. Right, as those pop up, I will come back to them, but thank you for anyone who is writing in. Thank you. And as we are going through, and when you're writing in there, I'm also writing things down. Somebody has asked, sorry, I think it was Mehrad has asked about classes. We're opening with 2 form entry, 2 form entries. That's 2 classes per year or per grade. Class sizes are 20 in our youngest year and 24 as a class size for our older children. So just pick up some questions as I see it. Right, lovely. Children can put their learning into purpose and into practice. They have perspective, and they grow through their vision and they grow through their learning. Thank you. That's exactly what we mean by it. By learning with purpose, they know what they're learning. I'm sure we've all sat in lessons when we were students where we thought to ourselves, I'm learning this, but I've no idea where this fits into the world. And we don't want that at Ashmount. At Ashmount, our children, we want them to know what they're learning and why they're learning. We want them to understand how their learning will be used. And part of that is the connection in their learning between what they learned in the past, what they'll learn in the future, and also between those subjects. Lovely. Thank you, Ahmed. We will do. We're going to learn more about it, but this is part of our consultation process in becoming an IB school, but we will carry on. Okay, so our values sit under 3 guiding pillars: well-being and connection, charactership and leadership, and that future ready thinking, about being ready for the future. Okay, so we've been asked a lot about the difference between UK curriculum, IB curriculums, and US curriculums. And you're really lucky. You've got people here who have led schools with all 3 of those curriculums. Tom, do you want to explain this one, or are you happy with me carrying on? Give me a thumbs up.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Abby said, I'm very fortunate to have worked in all 3 of the curriculums within the UAE for the past 11 years. And I think sometimes the variety of different curriculum can be overwhelming for parents. So I do want to shed some light about the differences between the curriculum. And please don't be overwhelmed. We are so fortunate in the UAE that we have such a great range of curriculum offerings to choose from. So starting with the UK national curriculum, predominantly when students leave the primary school into the secondary school, subjects are taught independently. So students will learn about English, maths, science, Arabic, Islamic, PE, etc. And the content of those subjects don't necessarily interlink with each other. So subjects are studied completely separately. It's about understanding the knowledge and applying those knowledge typically to examinations. And that's looking at GCSE examinations when students move to year 10 and 11. And then when students go to post-16, in a traditional UK system, you would predominantly go to A levels. But you do have the opportunity for some UK national curriculum schools to move to IB, CP, or DP. But the main difference is that it is a very rigorous curriculum. It is predominantly geared towards examinations, and subjects are studied independently. So moving on to IB, a big focus within IB is the knowledge and the skill development of subjects. So of course, we do need to teach children about the knowledge within every individual subject, but we also want to teach them the skills that we feel are really important, not just for learning, but also to be able to apply their knowledge within the wider world and within society as well. A really key focus of the IB curriculum as well is the creativity, active and service part of the curriculum, where students look to give service back to their local community, and that might be within Ashmount or within the local area of Moudon. They might want to provide service and leadership opportunities regionally and nationally around the UAE. And we're also looking at establishing links more globally with different schools across the world to provide volunteering and service to those schools as well. So we're really developing children holistically. It's not just that knowledge, it's also that skill and leadership and character development as well. And then a key part of the curriculum, as we talked about in our previous open day, is that the subjects interlink a lot. So if we're talking about a certain project, and the example that I always use is designing a Formula One car. In maths, we might be looking at calculating the speed, distance and time of a Formula One car. In science, we will still be learning about that Formula One car. We might be looking specifically about the aerodynamics or velocity associated with Formula One cars. So students understand how those subjects interlink, and they understand the real purpose of what they're learning and how that relates to real life. And then in finally talking about the US curriculum, and that was something that I've led over the previous 6 years. Predominantly, the US curriculum is geared towards students wanting to go to the US or wanting to study in a US university within the UAE. Predominantly, the US curriculum is project-based, so a little bit similar to IB in the sense that students are applying their knowledge to a certain project at the end of a unit, and they are geared towards AP examinations once students hit 16 years old. And those AP examinations are very rigorous, they're kind of fundamental university courses, and then they prepare students for college and careers beyond post-16. A bit similar to the UK national curriculum, a lot of it is about memorizing knowledge and applying that to examinations. And that can be a little bit more challenging for students and cause a little bit more of that test anxiety once students do come to the age of when they are sitting examinations. But something that we really believe in at Ashmount, and the research does back this, and this research was taken from an IB study in 2022, is that 22% of students are more likely to be accepted into global universities. And there was a comment in the chat before, does the IB curriculum allow students to progress to universities in the UAE? Yes, it does. Also allows students to progress to universities globally across the world. It's actually the fastest growing curriculum in the world, and therefore more and more universities are recognizing the IB in comparison to the UK and the US curriculum. Another key piece of research that I picked out was that 18% of students are more likely to be accepted into Ivy League and Russell Group universities. So we're talking about NYU, Harvard and Oxford, and that's again in comparison to UK national curriculum and US curriculum. And something that we're really passionate and proud of at Ashmount is we have partnered with the program and the company called Unifrog, and that looks at empowering students with personalized guidance so that they are exposed to different careers, that they are equipped with the knowledge to make sure they understand the different future decisions, and then to provide them guidance about different universities and careers. And that's just not in the secondary school. We'll be looking at the primary school of exposing students to different careers and to really build some excitement about different pathways that our students can select.
Lovely. On that, Tom, I'm going to jump in and say, in an IB school, children can take exams. They can take exams at the end of MYP, and those exams they get a certificate for, and they also get their MYP completion certificate. So if a child needs to move out of an IB school prior to the final years, so the final years being grades 11 and 12, then they can, and they have those certificates. Not all IB schools use those e-assessments. So if that's something that is important to you, then please make sure you've spoken to the school that you're joining to check that they're using those e-assessments. Okay, I think that's covered any questions that came up about universities. So thank you, Tom. And that also gives us a clear picture of the 3 curriculums. Okay, so what does learning look like at Ashmount? Amna, if you want to jump into any of these, Tom, I haven't got on it who's presenting them. Sorry, as I'm publishing it, it's disappeared. But our learning will be inquiry-led, and like I've said, purposeful. It means us looking at how our subjects fit together, not taught in isolation. If you're learning about something, it works across the subjects in an interdisciplinary way. The children will be, I think someone wrote something about them being active learners. Yes, definitely, they will be active learners and developing learning skills that they will go on and use deliberately through life. So again, if you could just put on what learner skills are important to you. If you put those in, we will have that as part of our consultation. But Ahmed, I've taken on your point. We will move through the slides as people write those in, please. So what learner skills are important for you and your family and your children? Amna, I'm going to pass over to you here now to talk about our lovely early years.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I am Amna Thomas, and I have the absolute privilege to be part of this amazing adventure with you all. I am the head of primary of Ashmount, and I say that very lightly because I always say that actually my role is all about facilitating conversations and how we can co-create this beautiful community that we're going to create in our school. A little bit about myself before I jump in with the slides, because I always think it's important to know the human person before the educator. I am a third culture kid, like many of your children. So a bit of a background, and when someone asks me where I'm from, I'm like, oh my goodness, how long have you got? So I was actually born in Abu Dhabi, moved to England when I was 7 years old, basically lived there for most of my life. And then when I got married, I moved to Amsterdam. Was in Amsterdam for 12 years and worked at 2 beautiful community schools. One of them where I was the head of primary. It was an IB school. I had my 2 lovely children who will be Ashmount students as well in Amsterdam. So they are very much third culture kids themselves. They hold a British passport, but they've never lived in England before. And yeah, now we live in Dubai. So I've been here nearly 3 years. I worked at a IB school here as a vice principal. And like I say, now I'm the head of primary and very, very excited to be on this journey with you all. So some of you have already, mentioned a couple of these things that I'm going to mention as if you had the slides before me. So one of the things about the early years that's great for you to know is that we will be building the absolute foundations of our students. I am an early years educator through and through. I actually went to Reggio Emilia in Italy, where you literally see how the whole child is developed. Our curriculum will be centered through science and research. Any decision we will make will be backed by science and research and will be in the best interest of your child. We will be using frameworks like Development Matters, which is from the UK, to ensure key milestones are met. As I mentioned, it will be Reggio inspired. When I went to Reggio Emilia and did the study week for a week, goodness, you can just see how much the community has an influence in ensuring that the child is at the center of learning, and how we ensure that every single stakeholder has that ability to decide what is it that we want for our child, because every student is so different, and it's absolutely essential that we figure out, like someone said in the chat, what is their superpower? And that superpower comes in so many shapes and forms, literally, as we know with superheroes. So it's all about figuring out what is it about that child and how can we nurture that. Someone also in the chat asked about nature-based learning environment. Absolutely. That is my absolute passion, where we stay away from plastics, create a very sustainable, eco-friendly learning environment for our early years, bringing the outside in. As some of you who have lived in the UAE for a while know, that unfortunately 4 months out of the year, you can't go outside because it's so hot. So how do we incorporate nature? One of you mentioned about having a zoo. We won't have a zoo, but we will have a forest school. So in that forest school, again, we will be co-creating this with our enrolled families. We actually have an event coming up in the next couple of months where we will be co-creating the forest school. Yes, there might be some animals, but that will be decided with the children. How can we ensure we take care of these animals? Because it's very, very important that if we do have animals, we have that care and that environment for the animals to thrive in as well. I mean, my absolute dream would be to have a little tortoise where we would grow the lettuce, and then we would use the tortoise poop a little bit for the fertilizer, use that fertilizer to grow the lettuce, and then the students are able to almost see that life cycle of how we are making a nurtured environment for every single thing, whether it's plants, animals, in that forest school. We will also have a wet play area, which is very, very unique. Don't worry, it's not going to be an aqua venture or a wild waddy style thing. It will be basically a space where students can play with water. And I say play very intentionally. Play-based learning will be at the heart of early years. When they're playing with the water, they're looking at things like capacity, they're looking at gravity, they're looking at how do they build dams. It will all be connected to the units they will be learning, and the teachers have the opportunity and the agency to use that wet play area in any shape or form. And essentially, yes, open-ended learning is something I'm super passionate about. It's not about capping the learning. How can we make it so open-ended that it challenges every single student? How do you provoke curiosity? And then the problem solving and critical thinking. Abby mentioned earlier about learner skills. For me, as a mom myself, I don't know what job my children will have in the future. However, what I do know is that problem solving skills, critical thinking skills, those social skills, communication skills will be essential no matter what. And so for us to incorporate that into our curriculum is very, very essential. Next slide, please. Okay, so like I said, we are creating this holistic child, and the way our teaching and learning is going to be is concept based, and I'll come to that in my next slide in a minute of what that means. But essentially we will have the core curriculum. So the core curriculum, literacy, language acquisition, will have Miss Mahbouba, the wonderful Miss Mahbouba, leading on Arabic, and not just Arabic acquisition, but also for those that are the native speakers of Arabic. That rigor in Arabic for me is also absolutely essential. I always laugh with my husband, who can barely speak English. No, he can. He can speak English very, very well, but I'm a linguist at heart. I can speak quite a few languages, and I want every single child to have that love of language like I do. I literally, any language that I can grasp on and get to know each word is so important to me. And what I always say to my children is the beauty of languages is that one word in one language can mean a sentence in another language. And it's because languages are created in such unique ways. And I feel like, being compassionate individuals, it is our responsibility to understand not just cultures, but languages, religions, and all of that kind of stuff. So having that as our core is very, very essential. Maths will be part of our core curriculum, science. Muslim students will be learning Islamic, and then PSPE, which is personal, social and physical education. And then we will have transdisciplinary units where we will have incorporated into our unit science, the arts. And when I say the arts, I mean drama, visual arts, music, humanities. And when I mean humanities, I mean the geography, the history. And then there will be elements and standards from math and literacy incorporated into the units as well. And then we will also be looking at things like design, robotics, coding and things like that that are also linked to the unit. We will be using the UN Sustainable Development Goals within our units. And then, like Abby said right at the beginning of our presentation, our 5 pathways will be incorporated into the units as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so a lot of parents ask me this question. Okay, so like Tom was explaining, we've got the British curriculum, we've got the US, we've got the IB, and what is the difference between subject-based learning, so multidisciplinary learning, and transdisciplinary learning? So some of you who may have come from the British curricula, and look, I was brought up with the British curriculum, nothing wrong with it. I actually taught in a school in The Hague that also had the British curriculum as a foundation, a beautiful, wonderful school as well. And it was when I joined the school in Amsterdam, it was like as if the heavens open and music to my ears of, oh my goodness, this is what learning is all about. So I went from a curriculum that was very much subject-based, where you've got your history, your English, your science, your arts, but nothing is interrelated. You might be learning about, like it says on the diagram, Queen Victoria in your history, but in English you might be reading Oliver Twist, but then in science you might be doing STEAM and engineering, and in arts you might be looking at paintings and architecture, and it's all subject based, right? And you're understanding the subjects per subject or per topic. It's very much teacher directed, and as I said, the topic is the anchor. Versus the transdisciplinary learning. So this is where the IB is slightly different. What we look at is the interconnected concept-based approach. So how do we take a concept such as migration, and that concept, how can we make the child at the center of the learning? So it might be one child that go, actually, I'm really interested in human migration, and another child might go, I'm interested in animal migration. Great. But it will be focused on real world issues. It will be a holistic perspective. So it might be that if they're doing the unit of migration, they'll be doing report writing and literacy, where they're focusing on their nouns and adjectives and all of that kind of stuff, and looking at sentence structure, but using the unit to write that actual report. It might be then in science, they might be looking at the impact of the environment through the migration as well. In art, they might be looking at art pieces of work that looked at migration around the world as well. It's all about deepening understanding. So there's another lovely visual that I didn't want to add because this presentation could be very, very long otherwise, but this beautiful image that I'm happy to share with you another time as well about learning, where all what we want to do is deepen the learning as much as possible. And that comes through concepts, because concepts are able to be transferable. They are able to be transferred from one subject to the next, to the next, to the next. And so with the topic of migration, they might be looking at data handling and percentages and population. You can see the thread that I'm going down. And so it's having a big idea and then exploring that, but student driven, and ensuring that the students basically have to take the driving seat and the teacher is the facilitator. So that's what we're aiming for. And when we do become an IB candidacy school, we will be able to share some of these units with you as well. But we're very, very excited to build these units. And actually, when I say build, not just me building it, but with the whole team that we've hired as well from different schools, some of them IB schools as well. And as I'm actually doing online assessments with students in this moment in time, because it was face-to-face before, I am writing down some of their interests and seeing how we can incorporate some of their interests into the unit as well. Because when you look at their interests and use that as motivation, that's when you get true engagement as well. that's it from me, I think, Abby. I think the next one is Tom.
Oh, thanks, Amna. Thank you very much. If we see the questions coming up, I will write them down, and we'll come back to them. So let's have a look as we move into our secondary school. Tom takes over from the lovely Amna. Tom, would you like to talk to us about the curriculum model for secondary as we develop it?
Yes, so a really nice thing about putting your children in a through school is that there's not that big jump from primary school to secondary school. We want to see it as, you know, a transitional journey, because a lot of our teaching approaches and the curriculum just flows naturally from the primary school into the secondary school. So students shouldn't be feeling that, you know, they're taking this large leap into a big scurvy secondary school. We are a community school, and our curriculum and our approaches to teaching and learning will also mirror each other. So when students do get into the secondary school, starting with grades 6 and 7, they'll study 8 different subject groups, and these essentially are the same subjects that you would find in the UK national curriculum. And like we said before, the key feature of the IB is to make sure that these subjects are interdisciplinary. They also have transdisciplinary approaches like Amna's just referred to. And the assessment is really, really holistic, particularly in grades 6, 7 and even 8. We really want to focus on different projects, different presentations, investigations, rather than that more traditional approach of examinations. The IB does not want to look at examinations being heavily weighted. Once students then progress into grade 8, and on this model you can see that in the green box for phase 2, they then start to begin thinking about the options for the following year. So in grade 8, they still study the same 8 subject groups that they do in grade 6 and 7, but we also have one eye on the next year to come, because that's when then students can really personalize their curriculum and then choose their options, as you would call it in the UK national curriculum. From the US, they call them electives. So once they do get to grade 9, they do have some flexibility then to choose specific pathways and specific subject groups that they might want to study further based on their interest. And that's when the curriculum becomes really exciting for me. Still in grade 9 and 10, we're looking at that holistic approach to assessment. So moving away from traditional approaches to make sure that students can demonstrate their knowledge in a variety of ways. And like Abby said, when then students get to grade 10, we are making e-assessments mandatory, because that really adds rigor to our curriculum. And it also allows us to use that data to decide whether we want students to pursue a DP pathway or a CP pathway as well. And that's a real good opportunity to see what students have learned during their middle school phase. And as we mentioned before in the chat, in terms of the MYP certification, that is transferable. So if families are deciding to leave the UAE and want to go to a different country or to go to a different curriculum, that is transferable into any other curriculum as well, whether that is A levels, BTECs, etc. That is perfectly fine to do globally. So then once students finish grade 10, they then go into post 16, and they have the option of the diploma pathway or the careers related pathway. And I think there's a misconception that the careers related program is easier. It's certainly not. Typically in the careers related program, students opt to study a BTEC qualification, which is predominantly more coursework based. The diploma program is a little bit more intense in the sense of the amount of subject study students have to study, and it is a little bit more examination focused within the diploma pathway. However, the most important thing is that whether students decide to take the diploma pathway or the careers related pathway, both pathways allow students to go to universities, again, across the world, not just within the UAE, anywhere across the world.
And Tom, I'm just going to jump in there and say we were speaking to, because Tom and I have been out to the universities in Dubai, and we were speaking to a university this last term, where they were saying that the DP course and the CP course would both be accepted as an entry into university to a 3-year bachelor's degree. However, if they took just a BTEC, they would not necessarily go straight into a 4-year course. They would go, sorry, 3-year course, they would go into a 4-year where they would do a foundation, and then they would have to start the bachelor's for after that first year. So for a CP course, we would work really carefully to support the children so that they have the right entry point requirements for going into universities, which is why they'd need to do their CP course with a BTEC, and they would take a couple of DP courses with it. But we're already working with universities in the Middle East, in Dubai, to get those pathways really clear so that we can advise children as they take their options and not once the doors are already firmly closed to them. Okay.
So I just wanted to touch, and this was based off some of the feedback we got from our previous open day in person. And a lot of parents were saying to me, my children are going into grade 8 next year, but we want to know what subjects can they elect to study in grade 9. So as I mentioned before, that exciting part of the curriculum where students can personalise some of the subjects they would like to study. So what we have done is we've tentatively mapped out our grade 9 and grade 10 curriculum pathways. Now, this is with the caveat that these are subject to change based on what students would like to study. So, for example, in grade 9, we might have 70% of our students who would like to study psychology. And if they do, that's great. We will appoint a psychology teacher. We will offer that course. However, if we only have 1 or 2 students, we might not run that course. So we have put together this course pathway in terms of what we feel the current generation of students are very interested in. But this is likely to change as well, because we really do want to base our curriculum and personalise our curriculum around students' interests. So in grade 8 next year, this is what we will be talking to our students about in preparation for the following academic year once they get to grade 9. And we will involve parents along this journey as well, because it's really important that you are involved in your children's decisions for the following academic year. So once students do get to grade 9, they still have to study the 5 main core subjects. And in terms of IB, that is language acquisition, language and literature, maths, science, PE, and then also within the UAE are MOE subjects as well. Where we do have some flexibility is students then will be able to choose 1 additional course in individuals and societies, an additional course within the design, and also an additional course within arts. And I'll show you what some of these courses mean now. So based on our pathways, we are offering 5 different pathways. So you'll see down the left-hand side, these are the 3 courses that have flexibility for students to adapt their curriculum. So if students want to take the global pathway, for example, in green, they have the option to choose either history or geography to personalise their curriculum. Then within design, we're just saying they have the option to choose product design only. And then in arts, they have the option to choose either visual arts, drama or music. And then you can see that if we're going throughout all of the other 4 pathways, they are designed deliberately to try and fit those certain pathways and to fit those certain careers. And then eventually these pathways will weave into our CP and our DP pathways as well. Now, there is flexibility for students to change their options throughout the year. You know, if children are anything like me at that age, I had no idea what I wanted to study and I wanted to try something, and then I realized I disliked that after 6 weeks and I wanted to change. We do have that flexibility. However, like I said, for the grade 8s joining us in August, we will be educating them and exposing them to these types of course in advance to give them plenty of time to really research and understand what these different courses are about.
Thank you, Tom. I'm just keeping an eye in case any questions come up as you're talking. Okay, let's carry on then. Okay, so Mabuba, are you still here? Mabuba's actually, she may have had to leave, in which she has. I will take over. Mabuba, if you're there, can you join in? If not, I'm going to present about Arabic. So like I said, Mabuba and I feel passionately about Arabic and the 3 Arabic subjects. We feel that Arabic isn't just a language, it's an identity for our children. And we really want our children to love Arabic as they're learning it. I always use my own daughters as this example. My daughters are British passport holders, but they went to school in the UAE. They went to a school, wonderful in many ways, but they didn't discover a love of Arabic and they weren't exposed to a love of Arabic. It was a lesson that they had to do. And we don't want Arabic to be seen as that. We want it to be a language that's a living language, that's part of our identity, both as an expat living in the UAE, or as an Arab passport holder from an Arab country, where it is fundamental to part of your national identity, your identity. So our Arabic lessons will be exactly as all other lessons. They will be real life contexts, they will be discovery, and they will be active lessons, lessons where they actually get to talk and speak and write as they're learning their Arabic about real things aligned to the subjects that we're teaching across the school. So if there's a concept, I think, Tom, you talked about a unit on the F1, where the children are designing those cars, they're making those cars, they're creating those cars. They should be doing that in their Arabic lessons as well. They should be talking in Arabic about those subjects, so they really have the living language that they're using. Now, for those of you that will be going in, your children going to Arabic A, which means you are a native Arabic speaker, but maybe you're not at home, that can be really tricky because your children go into a first language lesson not necessarily at the same level as other children. So Mabuba is creating or has created a curriculum where actually those children's needs are met, because she will introduce them to Arabic as a second language speaker before they go in as a first language speaker. So hopefully bringing them in and on board in those lessons in a very, very gentle way and meeting the needs of children where they're at, and not where their passport says they are, in Arabic as a language. We were going to celebrate it across the school, and I should just say here, I wish Mabuba was here. Mabuba's actually had myself, Amna and Tom, and we're having to speak Arabic in some of our work together, in our lessons together, our work together, our meetings together, because actually we all want to be Arabic speakers. I will never be fluent like lovely Mabuba. I'm sure I'm not a linguist like lovely Amna, but certainly I'm going to have a go. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to try my Arabic, speak my Arabic, just as I want to model to the students that they will speak Arabic as well. So a very unique approach to Arabic, making it something that children love, want to go to, and learn those skills and that development at the right stage that they're at, and not just where their passport says they need to go into those lessons. So I hope that's answered the question that we had about Arabic and Islamic. We'll go on. So well-being, and this is where I talk about, I mentioned Laura and Mark again from Lumi. So well-being, we know happy, safe learners who feel good about themselves become really great learners. Well-being is fundamental to everything we're doing. Being, like I said, compassionate to ourselves and others, being brave and having the skills to be brave and the knowledge and the resilience to be brave. So well-being doesn't sit separately. It doesn't sit in a 45-minute lesson on a calendar or a timetable. It doesn't sit in a well-being week. Well-being sits in everything we do, and it starts from being greeted at the doors, welcomed, heard, listened to. Part of actually building our community school is really making sure that we all feel supported and we all want to be at school, whether we're a parent dropping off, whether we're a child who's staying for the day, or a teacher coming to work. So we want our children to be known, and as Amna said, even as we're meeting children for the first time, we're asking them, what are their interests, what do they like, what are their thoughts and ideas for the future, so that we can incorporate that, so that they feel known. Tom, as he's talking to children, you know, he's asking them about their futures. What do they want? What will it look like? One of the questions when they come in for an in-person assessment is I'm asking them, what do you want your teacher to know about you before you walk through the door? So that we can actually share that with our teachers as we're meeting them this side of the summer break, so that when the children walk through the door, they are known. And we had one lovely child whose answer to that question was, I want my teacher to know I can do it. I'm really clever, but I need to have time to learn. Please make sure my teacher knows if they rush me through my lessons, I won't be able to keep up. But if they give me time to learn, to take it in, and they check, I can learn. And that was really exciting, that this secondary child had reflected on themselves and they chose that that's what they wanted their teacher to know. And I think that that's really important, that we understand those children, and then we can support them by giving that child the opportunity to say, yes, yeah, of course, you know, have you got this? Are we ready to move on? Do we want to go back to this learning? Do we need to revisit it? Can you see the connections between our subjects? I think really important that those children are known, especially that child who wants to carry on, wants to be clever, wants to do well, and has already identified what they need their teacher to know about them. So,
Abby, if I may just jump in
yes.
there. So I was speaking to a family last week who were telling me that another school that they were also looking at were just asking for like a 1-minute video of their child, and that's what the school was basing their sort of enrollment on. And when I was speaking to this family, and I'm not exaggerating, the mom actually welled up and said, the fact that you asked my child these questions of what they like, you know, what do they find challenging, what are their interests, means the world to the mom, because she said there were some things that the child had said on that day that the mom didn't even know themselves. And she basically said, you know, that sort of unique approach that we've got to knowing every single child and how important that is to us was something that was very heartwarming for her. And I said to her, well, I take my job very, very seriously, because you know, I've worked in quite a few schools now where you lose that connection between the students and the families when the schools get really, really big. And for me to know the child from the get-go, where they can feel comfortable to come to me, is so important. And that's why I always say connection and relationships come first. Without that, the child is not going to be able to learn or thrive. And so the fact that, again, Abby, Tom, Mabuba, and all the other teachers that we're recruiting are thinking of that along the same lines of how much those three things matter, which is relationships, confidence, resilience, is something that I'm so excited about, because that is truly, you know, an environment where children thrive if we are centering our approach and our everyday thinking on those three things as well. So I just wanted to mention that example because it really warmed my heart, that the parent even mentioned that, and that personalized approach is something that I think we are very, very proud of.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. I'm a mum of 3. My 3 children are totally different. Every one of them is different, very, very individual, very unique. I've got one who wants to sit in the lesson, be given information, and he just retains it. I've got another one who we worked out, she cannot be put on the spot to read. She can't do that. She hates it. She gets absolute word blindness if she's asked to read. But if you give it to her the night before and you tell her tomorrow you're going to be reading this in class, she's incredible. But you need to know your children at that individual level. And it's important our teachers take time, and we are taking time with every child we're meeting to actually find out about that child. But what's important, to keep finding out. Once you know about a child, you know about them today, tomorrow your children can change. And that will be the job of our teachers, to make sure we keep up to date in where our children are at with their development. So thank you. Yeah, really important to us that well-being is, again, not set in a box somewhere on a shelf, well-being box ticked. It's not a policy, it's a culture, and that's important to us. Thank you. Okay, so part of our wellbeing approach is understanding our children, and we have introduced some something called Lumi, and I've got lovely Laura and Mark who are joining us, who are the co-founders for Lumi. So whilst I talk, if you've got questions for Mark and Laura, please put them in the chat and we will answer those. Mark and Laura, also please feel free to unmute and join in as well at this point if you'd like to. Lumi is a tool. It is a digital tool for hearing from children. It's not going to be something that all children fully want to engage with, but it's another part of our wellbeing culture where we can hear from children how they are, what's going on, what are what are the things that are making them happy at the moment, and what are the things that maybe are causing them a concern or giving them something to worry about. We've actually very kindly, Mark and Laura have allowed us to introduce Lumi from this beginning of this term. So all of our enrolled families are being sent a link and a password so they can start using Lumi at home with their children. We were going to introduce it towards the end of the term because we knew with children moving across from different schools, different countries to come and join the UAE Dubai Mood on Adash Mount, we felt that children may need an extra platform to be heard. But actually, with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, and especially in the Middle East at the moment, we've introduced it now. And we've done that so that parents and children can work on Lumi together. Parents can really understand Lumi as a way of having their voice heard, of speaking to us. And we as adults, so myself, Amna, Tom and Mabuba, we are getting reports from Lumi telling us about how the children are. And it's not just about worries, it's about things that they're really enjoying at the moment. So as we introduce it, what will happen is once you register with us, you'll be given a password and our login details. Your children will then be able to write on Lumi and use Lumi to record how they're feeling. If there are things that come up as a concern prior to school opening face-to-face in September, then I will reach out to you directly. So one child recently wrote on it that they were feeling sad. I was able to contact that mum and say, I've heard from your child that they're feeling sad at the moment. You might want to have an extra conversation with them. That mum could speak to the child and actually said, oh, it's because the child said, I'm feeling sad because I actually don't feel very well. So the mum then actually just had a different voice coming from their child to them and could, sort out the child not feeling well. But we get that report. And it also tells us what the children are enjoying, which is really lovely. So as we build the school, we're aware of what our children like, need, want, so that we can put that into our plans. Laura and Mark, is there anything I have missed, or is there any questions that people have got about Lumi?
I think you've covered it fairly well then, thank you. But what I will just add, which it may be a consideration for some of the families, is that Lumi is multilingual. So each child will be able to communicate in their mother tongue, which is really important with emotions because we don't always have the vocabulary in childhood to be able to converse in English. So I guess that's the one thing that I'm thinking about. And just to say that, Lumi's not there to take over and replace humans and adults. It's just another way of gathering pupil voice and keep up to date with how each one is feeling individually at that time. And will be a way for children to ask for additional support because some children find it really, really hard to do that. So I think that's, Mark, have you got anything? No? Okay. Any questions? I'm always here.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Laura, as well. Thank you very much. Can I also say on the slide before, we've also partnered with My Happy Mind. My Happy Mind is work that we would do with our children to understand themselves, their mental health, their mental well-being, so that they understand what's going on about, and also how to keep themselves healthy and fit and how that affects their well-being. And we've also already partnered with Mind My Health or Mind Your Health, to put in mental health training for all of our staff in our pre-opening weeks. And we also will be putting in the warrior for our secondary children, so they will become mental health warriors to be peer mental health first aiders across the school as well. So we've already put these in, and I should say we are working really hard so that although you are joining a new school, it should, I hope, feel like a very established school. These things are already in place from the day we open. Myself, Tom, Amna are really working so hard to make sure these partnerships are not introduced in a drip, drip, drip way. They are deliberately introduced from the beginning of school to support you, your students, your children rather, our students, your children, and our staff as we open up the school. So we've already sort of talked to you about Unifrog, Lumi, My Happy Mind, etc. But there are lots of things going on behind the scenes. And for the person that's been asking about sport, we will get onto that next. So we've split, guys, if you want to take over from me, please just take over. But we've split into clubs, squads, and academies. And we're using those three words because we know that schools across the UAE talk about ECAs, ACAs, ACPs, blah, blah, blah. We're splitting them into three very clear and defined groups. Clubs are things that your children do with teachers at the end of the day. So they sometimes are called after school clubs or ASCs or all sorts. They are things where your child is interested in something or where a teacher has a passion for something and they work on them together. So they will be things that I've run in the past myself. I've run a recorder club, a choir, I've run a knitting club and a sewing club and an art club. I ran a printing club. They're the sort of things that your children may be interested in as nice activities and extensions to their learning day. We will co-create those with our children. So we want to hear from you as parents what opportunities for clubs are exciting, and we want to hear from our children. And this month in our newsletter, there is a link for our children who are enrolled to already start saying, I love art, I'm really inquisitive, I really like design and technology, I really want to do, I don't know, the Lego League because it was important to me because I've done it in other schools. We want your children to tell us those so that we can start weaving those into our club's offering. And we as educators as well will put out the things that are interesting, that we find interesting and we have passions and loves and skills in. You know, chess club I ran once, the kids loved it. I love to have a passion for chess, and that's the sort of thing we want to know. So as the teachers will be running those, thanks. So the teachers will run those, but we want to know what are your interests. Squads are sports. So there'll be development squads and there'll be competition squads. And someone asked about, what about children who love sport, have a passion, but are not at competition level? You are describing my youngest daughter, Poppy. Okay, she loves sport. She has never been the best at a sport, but she certainly makes the C team. Okay, so she's great. She loves it. It's part of her life. She now actually, I've done her a disservice because she now plays korfball for Cardiff University at competition levels between the universities. So she found that sport that she could really excel at, but she found it by being given opportunities to be in development squads across lots of school of sports. Sorry. So our squads will be wide-ranging in ability, but of course we will have competition squads as well, because actually being in a competitive sports environment is important for some of our high-performing sports children. Again, we're putting out questions to our families. What sports are important to you? We have partnered with a sports provider who will come in and run some of those high-end squads, and they will also provide academies. Academies are activities that run outside of the school day. So after 4 o'clock, weekends, holidays and camps in the holidays, and they are being run in the school. There is an additional fee for academies because they are outside the school day with other people, external partners coming in. And we hope in the next few weeks, I'm just caught Tom's eye, to be able to announce the football academy that we are teaming with. We're not allowed to share the name of it at the moment, but hopefully a big name football academy will be coming and joining us because we've got such incredible facilities for them. So as we carry on, if you've got an opportunity that you feel passionately that this is something you really want to see and your children love and adore, please just put it in the chat. Like I said, we will look at how we incorporate that into our design. Again, rugby, we didn't think rugby was going to be popular, but we've had at least 5 children come to us and say rugby is a real passion for them. So we're looking at incorporating that into the offering. Right. Who wants to do campus and facilities? Shall I do that, or just one of you want to join in?
Just on that, Abby, sorry,
Oh,
just before we move on,
yes.
it was just on the last page. Kareem's asked a great question. Will we be doing school trips? Absolutely. So we are affiliated with Camps International, which work with a variety of schools across the UAE. So we will be doing local residential trips within the UAE. But we also will be doing international trips as well. We're in the process of just tying down potentially three or four different areas that we feel would be suitable for our students to go to. And again, like the clubs, we want to survey our community to say what countries would you like your children to go to and what types of trips would you like. In the true nature of being an IB school, we're looking at making sure that these trips do have a service learning element as well. So we will be mentioning those clubs to you in the next coming weeks. Sorry, those international trips. And again, we want your feedback to say which types of trips would you prefer. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah.
Abby.
And I think, Tom, you took the words right out of my mouth. What's really important to us is that service element. A trip where you lounge around, go to the beach, etc., that's called a holiday, and that's what they do with you as parents. But a trip that is a school trip for us will have that element of service. And I think that's really important. Lots of different ideas. We've got 3 destinations for next year. But again, we will go to the parents and the children to survey which destination we choose. But they're very exciting. Tom and I are hoping to go and do a pre-visit, aren't we, Tom? Okay, so the exciting part, campus and facilities. The school is beautiful. One of you asked what happens if it doesn't open. We will be opening. In fact, we've already had our primary building handed over for the interior fit out. So that's already started. If you saw the recent post on social media, you will see primary 1, which is our 2-story building, is now getting it's got its windows and doors placed in. It's got its AC placed in. It's got its fire placed in. It's got its plumbing for its taps and water plumbed in, and they are now moving to the internal fit out. Those of you that have opened or been part of opening schools in the UAE know the teams now come in and they move through very, very quickly to get the school ready. We've designed the building. Now, if I move my mouse, can you see this on the screen? Can you see it moving? Yeah. So I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to jump to the next slide where Tom has put some arrows for us. Well, the school is designed. This building is 2-story. This building is 3-story. This building is 4-story. So ground plus 3. And we've actually got to the final part of the build, and these are now being handed over to us. First primary 1, primary 2, and then secondary, all on schedule as we speak, so which is exciting. I always say jokingly, our owner Amit has got his feet in concrete. I don't mean that literally. He is part of, you'll see he won CEO for lead CEO award recently for his link to his concrete firm. So we've been very lucky that we have the concrete in the country because we have that connection through Amit to keep our build going. And even through the disturbances of recent days or weeks, we have had 300 plus people, they call them souls on site is the official wording for it, but it means 350 men working on the building site, keeping it going. So it's really exciting. We've got everything. Primary has its own, I'll go to the next slide. Let me see, sorry. Primary, so you have to imagine the picture's just flipped sideways now. So this is 2-story, 3-story, 4-storey for secondary. Primary has its own science labs, its own library, a junior library, an infant or a younger library. It has its own design rooms. It has 4 art rooms. It has 2 music and drama rooms. It has 2 theatre rooms. It has 3 sports halls, 1 larger one for the junior school and 2 smaller ones for the kindergarten that have been designed to start off smaller with a bifold door so it can open up. So as the children, we talk about age and stage, when they're ready for those big spaces, it opens up to become a big space, but with the familiarity of the walls that they knew and as it was growing. We've got a swimming pool. In fact, we've got 2 swimming pools. So again, we've designed the pool for a school. It is a 25-metre pool with a separate learner pool. That's 0.8 metres deep to give the children the confidence to go in the pool and teach the safety before we actually start teaching the skills of swimming. So we've got swimming pool. We have an external amphitheatre. You will see in the newsletter this week, we're talking about the importance of language and speaking. We've got an outside amphitheatre that becomes the heart of the school. And next to that is our lovely secondary library, which has been designed with a secondary library plus a library garden. We've got a theory that if kids hang out with books, they will pick them up and start reading them. So let's let kids hang out with books. So we've got that. We've got a school canteen. And we've got a black box theatre. Now, one of the questions I get asked quite often is, have you got an auditorium? No, purposely not. For us, theatre studies is not about telling children theatre is a production from the front. For us, wishing to be an IB school, it is about teaching children you need to consider your audience, you need to think about your production, you need to design in a black box theatre, whether you sit in front, beside, in the round, you sit in the centre, and the teacher and the audience sits around, whether it's a walking theatre that goes through multiple venues or rooms. We have designed our 2 larger halls. So the secondary hall, which is about just 60 square centimetres shorter than 1,000 metres square. We've designed that so it can be set up as an auditorium, both long and short directions. But we want children to think about theatre in a very open and creative, inquiring way. So that's why we've gone for a black box theatre and not an auditorium. What have I missed off? Science rooms. So we have science for the primary school and science in the secondary school. Science will start off as a combined science, so learning about the different sciences and how they fit together. But by the time the children move into the final years at secondary, they then start moving into physics, chemistry, biology, and separating out the 3 sciences. Sports field, we have a large sports field, big football field. We have got tennis courts, running tracks, and we've got our lovely forest school area that we've designed that goes right the way around one side of the swimming pool, where we are going to work with the children to design that natural environment for learning. Have I missed anything out, guys? No, I think I've got most of it. Again, if you've got a question, pop it in the chat and we will keep an eye on what you're asking. So again, we want to know from our children, from you, what excites you. And I've put some pictures here about our families. So our families, our homes, school will become a home from home. Your children will spend in a school week more waking hours at school than they do at home. And it's really important that it's not something that somewhere they are taken to, dropped off and sort of lost into. It is important that we create it around what excites them, the skills that they want, and how to make it feel like a lovely, welcoming place that they want to go to every day. So if you want to answer those questions in the chat, please do. Like I said, this becomes really important to us as we design the school together as a community school. So what excites you? What skills that your children learn matter most to you? And what will help your child to feel at home when they are at school? So they want to come in every single day. I always say the saddest question I ever asked a child was, why do you come to school? And they answered, because I have to. Absolutely broke my heart. It shouldn't be because they have to. They should be skipping along, telling you to get up and hurry up in the morning so they can get to school because they're so happy there. Right, so what happens next? Before we go on to that, I'm going to go through a few of the questions that we haven't been able to answer as they've come up. I've written a few notes. Homework was one question. So we believe that reading is not homework. Reading is a love and a passion. So I'm going to take reading out because we do expect children to read at home. We want children to read at home. Homework are the things that they're tasked to complete. And at primary school, we are hoping to keep that to a very minimum. There will be things that they bring home. There'll be questions that we ask. There'll be open-ended topics that you can join in with as a family. However, we do also know that some parents in primary years believe that homework is really important. I'll just say to you that statistically it isn't shown to be really important for progress and attainment, but as a family, if you want to do homework at school, we will guide you to some books that you can use if there's work to do with subjects that you want to do at home at primary level. In the past, I've guided parents to CGP books, but we will ask our heads of subject where they want to direct you as parents so that that is there as an option if you want it, because we are working in partnership together. By the time children move to the end of primary, we're getting them secondary ready. And like Tom said, the benefit of going through to an all through school is it is all through. It is thinking about what happened previously, what's happening next, and getting children ready. So homework will begin to be introduced in a more formal way as the children get ready for secondary school and move across. And then once they go to secondary school, there is evidence that homework then does have a positive impact on progress and rates of attainment. So we will start to introduce homework in secondary. We will hope to give you plenty of time to complete it. I talk about my children. My children were big horse riders. They love horse riding. There were 2 nights of the week we could not do homework because we went up to the stables and they rode, and that was important to them. So we will not be giving you homework for tomorrow. We will be giving you homework for those children in the older years where they know about planning their time so that they can get it done in time to get them back to get the work back to their teachers. But in a way that fits in with what they are doing at home. That's really important for our children, not to feel those pressures. We don't want those midnight, frenzied homework sessions at home where they suddenly realise they've got to have it ready for tomorrow. So other questions I saw, I think we've answered most of them. So are there any that, guys, you've seen come up that we haven't answered? I think I've said about class sizes, 2 classes per grade. As we open, that will grow to be 4 or maybe even 5 classes per grade. I think we're talking about by 2030. But again, introducing those classes slowly and gently so that we can really understand our students. If you had put a question there and you have not had it answered, would you like to just unmute or do a hand up, and then we will answer you one by one? Okay, I'm hoping that means we've answered all of your questions.
Abby,
Oh,
sorry,
yes.
there are a couple more. So if the school is not ready, and although we are very confident that it will be ready,
Yes.
if it's not ready on time and hoping that things go back to normal, where would our school be housed, I guess? And then if we are still remaining on online learning, are we ready as a school to facilitate that?
Okay. So I'm going to do the first one first. So yes, of course, we will be set up in case online learning continues, but I am very much hoping that it does not. We want to actually be back in school with our students as we open, but yes, we will be set up and we will be ready to deliver it as online learning. One of the things I've been doing is, as schools are online, and having taken a school through COVID myself, and the online learning, we're building that into our plans just in case. I mean, after COVID, we said we'd never have to do it, and we've had to go back onto online, so we're ready for it. the one about the school opening. The school will, based on everything I am told, be opening on time. We are submitting to KHDA, who, and I know KHDA get a bad rap sometimes, but I'm going to say they've been really, really proactive in making sure that schools like Ashmount are delivering on time and opening the school on time. So we already have to provide them with updates on the build, how we're doing, making sure that we are telling them the percentage on track that we are, and also the perfect percentage that we are behind if we ever get behind. Luckily, like I said, we are fully on track to be opening. The first day for students will be the 31st of August. However, we are hoping to get students in the week before, if they are in the country, to have a walk through. So the dates for that would be the 27th and the 28th of August, the Thursday and Friday before the students come in, just because we know kids will be walking into a brand new building with brand new adults, and they will have a little bit of an opportunity just to familiarise themselves with the school. If we need a plan B, just so you know, we do have to have that. Schools have to provide that for KHDA, and they have to have that in place. So yes, we do have a plan B. We can host our schools at other Interstar schools, but we do not want to go there. We would have to do that with permission from KHDA to take the children into the other Interstar schools at City of Arabia and Southview School for our secondary children, but we don't want to go there. And at this point of time, on all of the reports and all of the delivery schedules that we're seeing for delivering the school, that should not happen. Going to touch wood now, of course. So that. But yes, those plans are there. So please don't worry. We will be opening to students.
Thanks, Abby. There's one
Okay.
more about percentage of teachers that are British.
Okay, right. Okay,
This comes up in every open day I've ever done, and sometimes I go, well, what does it mean to be British? Because I've got a British passport. My kids have got a British passport, but they've never lived in England. But it's an interesting question that comes up in pretty much all the webinars I do.
My children are British with British passports, but they call Abu Dhabi home, and they very much are waiting to come back post-degree to set up businesses in the UAE. So what does British mean? I suppose that's the first question. We are appointing the best teachers for the job, irrespective of passport. It just so happens that most of our teachers are British, but that is by accident and not by design. I'm very clear about that. Our teachers, if they are teaching an English language subject, have to have perfect English. If they're teaching French, Spanish or Arabic, they obviously need perfect French, Spanish or Arabic. That is what they need. Is they need experience, they need the culture, they need the passion, they need the knowledge of the subjects that they're teaching, and the desire to be a true IB teacher. Where there are gaps in IB, our teachers are being trained. We've already booked in again, like I say, we want to be open as a fully fledged school. We've already booked in our PYP training, with a man called Ali from Abu Dhabi, who's coming to teach it, not just in English, but he teaches it in English, French and Arabic at the same time. So our lovely French teacher will get it in a first language, that training. So really excited. But yeah, not employed by passport, employed by skills, expertise, passion, and desire to be the best IB teachers.
And Abby, if I may add, I think what is absolutely essential is that our students can see representation. You know, we've got students literally coming from all over the world in Ashmount. I was looking at the figures the other day of the different nationalities, and I say nationalities in inverted commas because it is a passport, but it is amazing how many, what a diverse school we will already be. And I think as students and as a third culture kid myself as well, it's really, really important that they see themselves in their teacher as well, because their teachers will be their role models. They need to see themselves in literature. They need to see themselves everywhere and anywhere in the school space books everywhere. And so it is really, really important that we are a diverse school. And as Abby said, it is essential that the teachers can speak very good, if not perfect, English. However, what I will also reiterate is accents. As you might notice, Abby, Tom and I, British, inverted commas, but our accents are very, very different. And so it, you know, it varies from one person to the other in terms of what kind of accent the child, what the teacher might have as well. But please be reassured that we are recruiting the best of the best, and we're very, very excited with the team that we've hired already.
I'm just laughing, Amna. I nearly didn't employ a teacher once who was from London because her Cockney accent was so strong that I found it hard to understand her. And I thought second language English learners would find it so hard to understand her that actually I nearly didn't employ her to bring her out. But luckily,
we've got that also reminds me of a situation which I won't go into right now, but where actually a British candidate was not, the head teacher kept having to ask her to repeat herself because she had a very strong accent from a certain part of England as well. I see someone's got their hand up. Sorry, I can't see who this is. Jurga? Oh, Jurga.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me well? I'm on my headphones. So I just have a question coming out of this teacher thing. Just wanted to inquire how recruitment is going, and have you got all the teachers recruited already, or is it still ongoing? And given the situation since 28th of February, did you feel any effect on recruitment? Because obviously a lot of people are here going back home with the question whether they're coming back or not coming back. So yeah, just wanted to out of curiosity, wanted to know whether you have a full team recruited or is it challenging right now? Yes, thank you.
So I will say we've been very, very fussy. We still have 1 or 2 placements to fill, but predominantly we are ready. We've got, for those that we haven't appointed, we have got, I know Tom has been interviewing teachers and trying to get exactly the right teacher, but generally, I'd say if I had to put a percentage on it without looking at my figures in front of me, I would say we're about 94%, which means we've got, I think, 2 left for teacher positions to fill. They've been brilliant. Yes, we've had some that are wobbly. So one lady who we were chasing and really wanted, she's chosen to go back to, we hadn't actually offered to her, but we were keen on her. She's chosen to go back to Ireland and live in Ireland for the little bit of time. But that's one person that we were who was part of 6 that we were interviewing for one of our roles. I think
if I may add, Abby, I think what's really, really important is how we are keeping in touch with everyone we've recruited as well. So our onboarding program is already very rigorous, and as soon as the candidate has signed their offer letter, they're part of a WhatsApp group. We're sending them information, drip feeding, pictures of the developments of our building and what they need to know. We actually have a dinner penciled in, so a lot of them are in the region, which is great because they get to know, they already know about KHDA and the UAE, regulations and all of that kind of stuff. So I think what is important, like we've talked a lot about student well-being, staff well-being is something that is an absolute, like, it's paramount, because without, I always talk about the oxygen mask theory. If the teacher can't take care of themselves, if the school can't take care of the teacher, they're not going to be able to take care of those lovely, lovely little children around them. And so what's really, really important is that we are taking care of these teachers that have already committed to us. And we also have a little sort of tour penciled in the next few weeks to get the teachers to show them the spaces as well. Bless Abby had to go through a lot of paperwork to make sure that was safe enough for our teachers to go to. And it's really, really exciting. And I think it's all about reassurance, isn't it? Like, all of us, that's all we want, is reassurance that everything is okay. So when we have had a couple of emails from teachers saying, oh, is my job okay? Or, oh, will the school be ready on time? We are constantly reassuring them. And I think that's what's important about, again, that relationship that we talked about and that connection, not just for the students, but also for our staff as well, and the families that have already enrolled with us as well. We're in touch with them too. So I just wanted to mention that, Abby, sorry.
I think that's really important because, you know, we've also involved our teachers in the curriculum writing. We've involved our teachers already in the resources. So they've already had been given a resource order sheet so they can fill in what do they need in their classrooms, what do they need for their subjects, what do they want for their classroom. So they're already involved in every part of the planning for them school. When we had an event, a number of teachers came who were bringing their own children. So they've come to events. They hadn't told their schools, communities yet that they were leaving. So we didn't introduce them as teachers. We introduced them as parents joining the community, because I believe very much that we have to be fair to the schools they are leaving as well. Those communities have to be given a chance to backfill their teachers. So yeah, I'd say I had a concern that there'd be a big wobble, but so far it's just been one teacher at point of pre-interview who has said no, I'm going back to back home for a while. So yeah, I think teachers are quite resilient. There's quite a lot of online stuff. I'm in lots and lots of online groups. There's quite a lot of online, I would say, very openly. I'm quite an honest person. I believe in leading with courage. There are quite a lot of trolls on the website on the social media groups who are actively stirring up issues. But yeah, like I said, just 2 places that we've got to fill, and one person that's had a wobble at pre-interview stage. So yeah, again, I'm going to touch wood quickly.
Abby, just a couple more questions about inclusion team. Yes, we do have an inclusion team. Yes, we have hired them. We're very excited. Like Abby said, we've got Selena, who will be our head of inclusion, and we are looking. We have already got a few inclusion TAs and pretty much our inclusion team sorted out. In regards to ELL, Abby, I had a couple of parents asking if the student can't speak very good English yet and developing their language acquisition skills. How are we supporting that?
Yeah, so I will say full immersion. So children coming in, we've heard some children that don't have great English at point of entry. We're picking that up and we're giving recommendations to families of things they can do before their child joins the school. Again, I think that's why a 1-minute video clip won't actually give you that as an indication. We're picking that up. And that's also about children that have a spoken language English, but it's, you know, we're picking up maybe issues that are within that the English that they've learned, because maybe they've learned it as from a second language speaker themselves. So we're picking it up early. For languages, we have got all children will take Arabic and English from the early years, right from KG, from pre-KG actually. We will then introduce French and Spanish as our next 2 languages, and children in primary years will get a block of French and a block of Spanish. It is fun with language. It is not your verbs, your tenses, your nouns, your creating, your writing, etc. At that point, it's about having fun with a second language, enjoying and finding a passion in languages, so that maybe your children, like Amna, say, I love language, I'm a linguist, that's what I love. But giving them those experiences prior to going to secondary, where they then start a more formal education, where they learn either French or Spanish, and they have to choose one or the other alongside their Arabic and their English. Mother tongue clubs. So yes, so we are running mother tongue clubs. We are hoping to engage our families with that. And so I spoke to a German community that we've got growing, and I've spoken to a Spanish community that I've got growing, about them being able to use the space in school to run mother tongue clubs. So you have an evening where you'd, I don't know, have a potluck supper and you all sit together, or some activities that are to do with your language, but the children speak it, feel it, own it, so that we develop those mother tongue clubs as a living language. So we will be again asking parents about mother tongue clubs. We've already got from you details about the languages that children speak at point of joining, so we can start building those already.
Abby, in regards to those students that are still developing their English, a parent is asking, will they be put in a separate class, or will they, and what kind of support? Will we have an ELL teacher? How is that going
yes.
to work?
So we've got a full-time ELL teacher already appointed who will work with us, who will pick up if they need to come and have an intensive part of learning. It will depend on the age of the child, the stage the child's at, and what that provision looks like. There isn't a blanket one size fits all. We have been speaking to a company called Witherslack for Inclusion, so we will talk to them about ELL languages as well to see what they could offer as well. But yes, so that straight into lessons, but pulled out if they need additional support for that English, just to bring it up to speed, just like anything else where you might have to withdraw a child if they need something extra to, you know, enable them to access the learning, so a gap there doesn't become a barrier. So
and
yes.
the approach is very much inclusive still, because again, what we don't want the child to feel, and I was, believe it or not, an ELL student myself a very, very, very long time ago, not giving my age away here. But when I did move from Abu Dhabi to England at the age of 7, I didn't speak much English. And it was very much of an exclusive approach where I was put in a room with a couple of other students who didn't speak English, and I literally still have trauma from that. And so yeah, and I think it's really important that these students don't feel that, you know, they're different or there's anything wrong with them. And so that will be very much of an inclusive approach. And like Abby said, if there is certain skills that they need to learn, and we will do them in bursts, so like 10, 15, 20-minute burst skill sort of learning, but then again, they'll be back into the classroom as well. That is so that they can be up to speed. So it's really, really important that we balance the inclusive approach and to ensure the child learns the English language as well. Abby, there's a question on bullying. How are we going to deal with bullying? We haven't got any students yet, but very, very important question of how we're going to deal with bullying.
So obviously we have a zero tolerance approach. However, we do want to work very much in a restorative way. So we accept that children will fall out of friends. That's very different from bullying. It's a bit like having your own children at home. They can be best mates and snuggled on the sofa watching telly 1 minute, and then they can fall out over a chocolate biscuit that one of them didn't get, and they fall out. That's different from bullying, which is long-term, relentless. There is a balance in power between those students, and that we have a zero tolerance to that. We will work, like I said, with a restorative, in a restorative way. We will make sure that children who are both either victim of having been bullied or the bully work together to understand how that looks, how that feels. And people say to me, why do you work with a bully? They've bullied, they just need to get into trouble. Well, that's fine. You can tell them off, you can do all sorts of things. They carry on bullying. You have to work with them to change their behaviour, to understand their behaviour, and to understand the impact that their behaviour has had on other children. So it's really important that it is a very, very, very strong restorative approach to that child. There is always, as we all know, an end game if that doesn't change, and that is the children in the end would not be allowed to continue in your school. Zero tolerance approach. So that is always the very, very,
if I may add, Abby, and for me it's all about the logical consequences as well.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, it can't just be that if a child is doing something, it goes back to our behavior policy, that, you know, that they just miss lunchtime. A child just missing lunchtime does not allow the child to reflect on their behavior and learn, what would I do next? We are great advocates of students making mistakes and failing in order to learn as well. And so what is absolutely essential is how do we ensure that they know that they're not going to get reprimanded as long as they learn from this. And what is essential is that there is an end game, that if this is a repeated behavior and they're not learning from the logical consequences or not reflecting, then yes, these are the students that unfortunately will not be able to continue in our school, because we do need to have a zero tolerance to bullying as well. Abby, 2 questions on start times and finish times.
Okay, start time. So school will open from 7 o'clock in the morning. We have half an hour where the children can come in and enjoy time together. For our younger children, that will be playing, it will be activities, they can go to the canteen and get some breakfast. For our older children, it's a social time. Social interaction is not a nice to have, it's a must have for teenagers. They really need that social interaction. It's really important for them. So we will have that half an hour in the morning where children can be dropped off. If you are dropping off the youngest children, so that is pre-KG, KG1, KG2, you will need to stay with your children in that half an hour, or you can pay for them to come to a breakfast club. But because we have to have the staff ratios for those children, we need to know if they're coming in, and we'll ask you to fill in a form to say whether you want to access that breakfast club for those younger children. For the other children, they will come in. I hope it will feel very much like schools you might have gone to, where you can head to the football field for a good old kickabout. You can go to the canteen and get a drink and a croissant and sit with your friends. You can go to the auditorium to do one of the activities that we will run each day. So amphitheatre, sorry, which we will run each day. So we're going to have an open mic where they can sing, perform. We will have discussions, we will have problem solving, and we will have a kind of wake up, shake up. I think that will be Friday because Mabuba wants to run it in Arabic. Again, a different way to look at how Arabic's being taught with a wake up, shake up activity in the morning. So that's 7 o'clock to 7:30. By 7:40, children must be in the classroom for register. Register will be taken at 7:40 on the dot. So if your child is arriving at 7:30, they're probably going to need to run to their classroom, especially if they're one of the older grades in secondary. So that morning is quite a quick 40 minutes. Lessons will then carry on through the day with breaks and lunches. And then the younger children, they finish at 1:10. We then have some activities at the end of the day, those clubs, those squads, those academies. For some of those younger children, we have the same, so they can be picked up later because the rest of the school finishes at 2:40. So at 2:40 school ends. If you're picking your children up or they're going home, they leave, they'll be off site by 2:50. And at 2:50 is when squads and clubs start. So if your children stay there, they come back and they come into a club. So they might go off to chess club for an hour, and that will finish at 3:50. So you'll need to pick them up at 3:50 for the school day to finish by 4. After 4, that's when academies move in. So if your child then goes to the XXX United whatever academy, they go to that, or the dance, baby ballet, or whatever it is, they come in at that time. So that will take us into the evening. And if you go ever past one of the other Instar schools, which is Southview School that we've been working from at the moment, those children there are coming backwards and forwards for those academies and adults all evening. So yeah. Any other questions?
There's one more about drop off and pick up. So how do parents drop off their child, and how do they pick them up? And maybe we could also talk a little bit about other alternative ways of getting to our school within the community.
Yeah. So we're hoping that lots of our children are going to walk, scoot, cycle to school. That's what we'd love. We want to be a community school, and the school is actually built not on a main road, but on a subsidiary road within the sector, so that it's safe for children to come in on their own, we hope, as they get older. We're actually right next to a park. My vision is that they leave the school at the end of the day and you all go to the park and have an ice cream or whatever you want to do at the park, and a lovely social time, and we become part of that community feel. For those children that are coming in by car, one of the reasons we've done the mornings is to bring children in gently, slowly, calmly, and to save you guys if you are rushing off to work. So you will bring them in. That was difficult. In fact, I'm going to go back. I'm just going to whiz through the slides back to Tom. So I'm sorry, they're going to whiz quite quickly. There we are. So on this picture here, you will see where my arrow is now on the left-hand side is where the Moodle Community Centre is. The way we've designed it is if you are coming in by car, you will come up this side. Oh, sorry, I clicked. Sorry, my apology. Up this side road, turn right at the roundabout, so nice and quick, smooth running, and you can come in through this gate here at the top, under here through a drop and go zone. So that's if you, like me, as someone dropping off and rushing off to work, you'll drop your children off there. You as a driver won't be able to get out of the car, but you'll drop your kids off. We will accept them. That will be fully staffed to take the children into school and out of the traffic. When you leave this, we will ask you to have a small shield in an ash mount shield in your front window, because we will then send your car left on the opposite side of the road back to the roundabout, and off you whiz back to work life or wherever you're going. If you are coming to the younger years, we would ask that you park. There is roadside parking along at the bottom and all the way up this road if you are needing to park your car and come into school. And the reason we're sending you off to the left, and we're going to try and be quite firm with this, is to keep the traffic on that road down, because that road there has got our 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds coming into school. So we want to keep that traffic down as much as is possible, because as much as 3-year-olds are lovely, they are also erratic with cars and their behaviours. And if they see a friend on the other side of the road, they will run across, even with mums and dads around to stop. So we want to keep this road as quiet as possible. And that's why, as you come out of the drop and go, you will be sent left, round, back along this. This has got no children coming in by foot, and back to the roundabout. If they're coming from the park, we hope they will cross over here by the main gates. Over here by the main gate. And again, we will have staff out there to support that. There is also parking here that we do know some parents will use. There is a zebra crossing or pelican crossing that comes across here and takes you into the secondary entrance there as well. So some staff will be doing that, especially if you'll go off to an exercise class afterwards, because I know lots of our families use the Moudon Community Centre for their exercising, sorry. End of the day, so you will need to park and pick your children up, or if they're coming by bus, the buses will pick up under this drop and go. So that drop and go at the end of the day is for buses, because obviously you can't drop and go in reverse, that doesn't work. So this bit here will be where our bus children will go, under here, fully shaded, so that children are coming out of drop and go and into and off buses in a sheltered space, shaded space, sorry. We will send all of that out to parents. What we want to do, and the reason we haven't sent that out yet, is once we've got that space, we are actually going to do some drive-throughs, myself, Tom, Amna and the operations team, to make sure that that plan works and it works smoothly. And then we will send that out to families.
I think that is it, Abby.
That's it.
Please, if we haven't answered all of the questions, please do put your hand up, or you're more than welcome to stay behind for the last few minutes. If you don't want to ask a question in a big forum, because I know some people don't like asking questions in a big forum, so please do stay behind. We'll be around for the next 5 minutes or so. And as Abby has put here on the final slide, any questions that have come up, we will put a little fact sheet together of frequently asked questions as well, and add it to our next blog.
Lovely. Well, thank you all. It's been lovely. I cannot wait till Open Day 3, where we will meet in person again. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Laura, for both coming from Lumi to talk to us. So again, Mark and Laura here if you've got any questions about that as well, and we will make that FAQ.
Abby, about elder children, from what age will we allow children to go home by themselves?
Oh, do you know what, Amna? Good question. I will have a look.
It's a very good question.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I will have a look at the KHDA regulations. In Abu Dhabi, there are very strict different rules. The children cannot take their younger siblings home. I don't know whether that will come in with KHDA, so we will be ready for it in case it does. But I'll have a look and I'll put that into the FAQ, and I've got a definitive.
Thank you, Abdullah. It's a very good question. I think it's different for different schools as well, of how they approach it. The school that I was at, there were certain regulations as well. So what we want to do is make sure that we follow the KHDA regulations and ensure that the child is safe, because that is our absolute priority.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. And Mark and Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Look forward to meeting everybody.
Thank you. Mark and Laura,
Bye, Mark and Laura.
I might add Tom and Amna to our little group if they've got questions as well, if that's
Yeah.
okay. So we've got all of us together rather than us firing it in different directions.
Great
So I'll
idea.
fire it there. Thank you for that, guys. That's brilliant. And I love the final end of week report that I get that's got those positives. Thank you so much. That's really lovely for us to build that into our assemblies and our school as we grow. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, that's the first one I've got, I think, of the final one. So thanks for that. It's exciting.
Excellent. Have a great day.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, and Asma's quickly asking about assessments for 3-year-olds. My goodness.
Oh.
That gives me palpitations even thinking of it.
Asma, are you still there?
Oh, you mean for application, school application? Okay, thank goodness. You didn't mean like day-to-day assessments. That's okay. Asma, it's completely up to you. What I've done is given the choice to parents, because right now, unfortunately, I can't go and see children in nurseries. So either we can do it online, and for a 3-year-old, it would just be a little conversation. But actually, next week, I am meeting some families face-to-face at a mall for those families that do feel comfortable. And I've got little books with me, little puzzles, little toys, and just have a conversation with the child and just to see their interest and if they can, engage in a conversation with me. So if you are interested, Asma, please do email me. I'll pop my email and then we can get that arranged next week as well.
Yeah, I think it's also worth saying, Asma, for our younger children, well, for all of our children, our assessment is so that we are ready to accept your child. It is not to say, no, your child cannot come to our school. It is so that we can see what do we need to have in place for them. If they have got some inclusion needs, are we able to meet those needs? And what do we need to be ready? What training do we need to do before the child joins us? If they've just got social needs, what do we need? If they've got language needs, what do they need? But it's about us being ready for them, not them being ready for us.
Very, very important. Very important. And Karim, you've got your hand up.
Oh.
Yes, thank you. I just really wanted to follow up on my daughter. I applied for year 7. So I did ask a question about what is expected from them, but I just wanted a little bit more of an elaboration. Right now in the school, they're more very soft on what to expect from the kids, which I think has maybe dropped her overall level because we sort of trusted the school to do what they need to do, but we didn't follow up at home because we didn't get homeworks, we didn't get these type of maybe weekly assessments. But I just wanted to understand a little bit more if there's going to be a little bit more emphasis on homework, assessments, and these kind of things from them.
Yeah, so I would just sort of say, first of all, we have very high expectations for students. I think of all students as actually my own children. So we have a very high expectation. I would hope that your daughter would be encouraged to do the homework and that it'd be relevant for their daughter so that she would feel a need to do it and a want to do it rather than a punishment for not doing it. If homework's not being done, you will be contacted very quickly. I talk about one of my daughters who had an 18-week course, and I think it was on about week 14 when the school approached me to say that she hadn't been turning up for it. And by that point, it was too late. She now couldn't do that course. I'm very cross about that myself as a parent, and I would never want that for a parent in my school. So we will be talking to you if things are missed or not done or not completed or not done and completed to a high enough standard as well. So definitely there. However, with the homework, with those expectations comes our learn with purpose. And that's when I go back to children should understand why they've got that homework, why we've got that learning. Tomorrow, so we talked about the other day, language with things like science, where you have very specific words. A child will be given those language words to understand fully before they start a science unit. They need to know, if you don't do your homework on that language, if you don't investigate what those words mean, if you can't understand them in your own first language, your mother tongue language, then when you arrive on Monday, you're going to be really adrift. We're going to all start going at a fast pace, and you're going to be going, oh, what does hypothesis mean? Or what does, I don't know, I can't think of a scientific word, photosynthesis mean? I am having to translate it. So a child, we hope, will go home on the Friday or whenever they're given that language homework and go, I know the reason I'm doing this is so that Monday I'm going to keep up, be successful, want that drive to learn and develop. And I do that homework because of that, not because I'm going to get detention, I'm going to have to miss a break time, la, la, la. Because actually what they'll do is the quickest, fastest, lowest level of homework that won't stick inside them. So, I think hearing what you're saying, the expectations are high, but the main thing is it's back to that children knowing what they're doing, why they're doing, and what the benefit is to them. And that's really important for us. I'm sorry you've had that experience in another school, because I hope you would never have that experience with us.
No, thank you very much, and I do appreciate that. But so and I do agree with the way that you are looking at things. Would you then is this going to be an optional thing for them? Is it going to be mandatory through the enjoying the process of getting there?
As much as I'd love to say that it will be mandatory to enjoy it, I don't think we can tell anyone to enjoy something. But what we can do is make sure we get feedback from the children to check that they are enjoying it. And that's part of our monitoring as leaders within the school as we move forward. Again, things I'm just looking, Laura, things like Lumi will pick up if the children are not enjoying it, if they're not happy, if we see drops. And one of the amazing things with Lumi, and one of the reasons we've actually gone with them, is the children can do it every day. They can give us that feedback every day. It's not the GL pass assessments that they do once a year. Once a year is too late. They've either missed the year or changed within 6 months. With Lumi, they do it all the time, so the children will engage with that. But it's also where the teachers are so fundamentally key to understanding their students, spending time with their students, listening to their students. It's really important. The homework at secondary will become more formal, so it is a bit of a change. They do have to do it, but what's important is they should want to do it, and if they don't want to do it, that means they don't see a purpose in it, they don't see a benefit from it. And that's when we as leaders would go in and work with our teachers to support our teachers to making sure the children understand the purpose of that. I mean, we've all seen schools, I'm sure, I go in and inspect schools around the globe, where they have a maths lesson, they learn multiplication, they're given a sheet of multiplication, they carry on. Either they could do it or they couldn't do it. They don't learn anything from that sheet. The children know they're not learning anything from it. They do it as quickly as they can. They probably go on the computer and do it with AI or with a calculator or whatever it is. And that piece of homework was what I call a babysitting task. It was just something to keep that child busy for 20 minutes because they had to do homework. Whereas if that task had been, we're going to teach you about multiplication, your homework is you're going to write the definition to present to grade 4 children about multiplication. I know there's a purpose for that as a child, because I'm going to be going down, I'm going to be presenting multiplication. And as a teacher, I know that if you can teach that, you've understood it. Or maybe your homework is to take your multiplication and go and create 10 word problems or a set of word problems that we're going to use in our lesson to really test each other on their learning. It's relevant. And as a student, I know that is purposeful. There's a reason why I'm doing this. I've got to prove I know it. I've got to practice that I know it. I've got to deliver on it. It's not just 20 more of the same questions that either I could or couldn't do in that lesson. I haven't got a teacher to support me. So, it's just what I call a babysitting task. I don't want our homework to be that.
Perfect. No, thank you very much for clarifying. I appreciate that.
I mean, Karim, I'm sorry you've had that experience in another school.
No, it's not a bad experience. It was more that we thought that was enough, and we realized that it wasn't, but a little bit later in time. So we just had to spend a lot more time with the kids, because especially the kids like to play more than they want to sit down and learn.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
just kids being kids.
And also playing is really important. That balance is super important.
Absolutely, I agree.
It is that balance, but the children have to feel that balance. They have to feel it. They have to understand it. They have to have a comprehension of where that balance sits. And it's our job as educators and your jobs as family to support them to develop the understanding of that balance.
Yes, perfect. And sorry, just one more thing, coming back to my question when I asked about the percentage of British teachers, and you asked a very good question, what does British mean? Because it's, again, my kids are British born. They did spend some time in the UK, for 5 and 7 years respectively, and then we moved to the US. And with that, I feel that they lost a little bit of the British culture, a little bit of the accent. They were fully British-speaking kids, but the US changed them. We've been there for over 3 years. So this is where my question was coming from. The British values, traditions, and culture is quite important for us, and that's why that question was. This is the history behind my question.
Yeah, it's a funny one because it does always come up, and exactly as you've said. Amna said as well, what does British mean these days? My home is Abu Dhabi, or the UAE. My other home is Italy. I don't have a home in Britain anymore, but I've got a British passport, and it becomes quite a complicated question. But yeah, it is actually not by design that most of our teachers have British passports. That is actually by accident. What's the deliberate part of it is the best teachers and their English that they speak.
Okay.